are there any books where you're like maybe a top 2 or 3 or 4 like books where it's like this impacted me so much and I look back on it so regularly? You kind of mentioned about how the 48 Laws of Power was kind of pivotal. Like, do you have any other books where you're like, man, every person should read this, or I'm so glad I read this kind of mentality?
You mean 300 or 400 or like?
Yeah. I know, but like, is there a way to rank order? Like, what is at the peak of that?
Man. There are a few. I won't. There's so many that I won't go too deep into all of them.
Sure.
Infinite Jest was one of them for sure. David Foster Wallace. It's a hugely complicated book, but what you want to talk about geniuses. Like David Foster Wallace was definitely one of them. So that book it's based on Hamlet. Lots of people know that, like the characters sort of mirror people in that play. And now I'm not a math person, but apparently there's a mathematical structure called Sierpinski's gasket, and it's a bunch of triangles sort of extended outwards or like going outwards. That's a gross oversimplification, but apparently the book, like the novel, is structured like a Sierpinski's gasket. Like it's like that's like the thing, and it's about 1,000 pages with like hundreds of pages of footnote of endnotes, and some of the endnotes have their own footnotes. Like it's a like insanely complicated book with like 100+ characters, but it's brilliant, and it's like simultaneously the saddest and funniest book that I've ever read, which is like, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like it's phenomenal. Fahrenheit 451 is another absolute favorite. If you love books, this is like, even if you don't necessarily recommend or don't necessarily read science fiction, Fahrenheit 451. It's like a love letter to people who love books. Basically, it's what it says on the book jacket, I think. So that's a really exciting one too. It's like definitely very memorable. Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell is really good too. Interestingly, there's so many.
Yeah, I know.
I just named a bunch of fiction, so maybe nonfiction.
Sure.
Meditations, of course, we talked about that. Marcus Aurelius. I loved the book by Alan Watts. The Outsider by Colin Wilson. Mentioned that. Oh, geez. In terms of like business books, like personal development, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, which is a really fun name to say, but all of their books are really, really helpful. And they're the guys that I read when I was like, again, just working these overnight 12-hour shifts, like minimum wage, and they were all talking about doing more than that for which you were paid. Looking for opportunities to go above and beyond. How, like, one of the sort of dumb quotes that I like quite a bit, it's like, it's never crowded along the extra mile. I think that's Brian Tracy. So, and like those sort of became my sort of a part of my operating system. And one thing that Ziglar used to say all the time is, and Rohn too, I think, you can get virtually anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And that's also like a guiding philosophy of mine. So far, and then there are writers like brilliant philosophers like Martha Nussbaum. I really like her books, and Simone Weil, French philosopher. Not a whole lot of people know about her. Just so many great nonfiction books.
Man, yeah, it's cool to see you just kind of spit off so many, and like have like the name and the author just kind of memorized, and just. Yeah. Some people, it seems like they don't have the greatest memory. But I was actually going to ask kind of just a little tangent off this. Like, do you feel like in going down this route of reading 1,000+ books has improved your memory / improved your literacy / improved your ability to articulate information, write information, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not entirely sure whether it's improved my memory per se. Like I don't know enough to say. But in there's an excellent book it's called On Writing by Stephen King. It's one of his few nonfiction books, and it's about his writing process. And like the first half of it is autobiographical, and it's like just like exciting and funny. But what he says, like if you want to, basically he says the best writers ever, they all, like to a person, like they read a lot and they write a lot. So you just basically do like a lot of reading and a lot of writing.
Yeah.
So yes, it's definitely improved the way I write and my proficiency in that, and really, like improving your vocabulary is a good way of reading faster, because if you learn more words, then when you come across words that you don't know, that's going to happen less frequently and less frequently as you go along. So eventually you're going to know like way more words, and you won't have to stop and start and look up certain words and oh, well, what does that mean, and then go back to the beginning of you're going to read a whole lot faster. So yeah, reading, it just improves so many different things, and especially you combine that with like going out and living your actual life, and it's like allowing both of those things to inform each other. Man, yeah. It's one of the best things that you can do, and I never force it on anyone. Like some people just will not read. I don't think they're worse people. But I see I see what it's done for me, and if I can sort of make people realize that that same thing could happen for them if they read more, that's really what I'm about.
Yeah, that's awesome goal.